Hey guys, this is Byrd, your curvy sewist, and I am here today with a free pattern. It is Sincerely Jen's Banana Hammock Beauty Bag. And although it says that it is a beauty bag, this really could be a toiletry bag. It could be a bag that you carry your sewing items, notions if you're traveling, or if you just want to be able to have different small bags for organizational purposes. I sewed this live not too long ago on TikTok, and I got a lot of direct messages, and people were saying, can you please do another sew along? So that's what we're doing here today. There are only a few pattern pieces, and the instructions are really straightforward. So you have the gusset. You're going to cut 2 of those. You're going to need some foam. I picked up some foam from Joann's, some SF101 as well. You need fabric for the interior, the exterior. So here's the interior, this is the exterior. So you're going to need fabric for the gusset, you're going to need fabric for the interior and the exterior main panels. There's this little zipper tab and a handle. So not a lot of pattern pieces at all. Okay, and of course your zipper. So not a lot of pattern pieces at all. It comes together really easily. I sewed it live on TikTok in about an hour, and I think it's only going to take me about an hour to sew it live. Well, not live, but sew it today. The inside is completely clean with binding, so you have no raw edges at all. It is super nice, super cute. This is a great gift bag for other people, a great travel bag. I love it. Again, this is Sincerely Jen Pattern Company, the Banana Hammock Beauty Bag. All right, so let's head over to the sewing machine and let's get busy. Here at the sewing machine, you want to take one of your front panels and you want to place your zipper face down. You're going to center the zipper pretty much along the front panel. Let me grab my clips. I prefer to use clips here. You're just going to clip it down. You can see that I've already added my tag pretty much right along where I would want it on the front of the bag. And the first thing that I'm going to do is on my sewing machine, I'm going to stitch down the zipper, probably about 1/4 inch away from the raw seam, and make sure that you switch over to your zipper foot on your sewing machine. I like to start probably a little bit down along the zipper and then kind of turn it around and finish it up on the other side. Oops, sliding a little bit there. Oops. Got the zipper caught a little bit, just making sure that it is completely free. And before I go ahead and finish the other part of the zipper, I'm just going to open it up so you can get a general idea of what that's going to look like. And I like the distance of the zipper teeth from where that seam is. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the sewing down the zipper to the front panel. So I move the zipper out of the way so I can get down to that part of the tab. Not the tab, of the zipper. Clean up all of the loose pieces of thread. You don't want to open up your zipper and have loose thread caught in the zipper teeth. I'm going to go all the way down to the end. I missed a little bit. Back stitch there. Now you're going to take one of your lining pieces, and you're going to place it over the exterior, and you're going to line up once again those raw edges. I'm just going to use some clips. You can use clips, or if you prefer, feel comfortable using pins. So we have the zipper face down, sandwiched between the exterior of the main panel and one of the interior main panel pieces, going back to my sewing machine. And you can sew it either way. So I'm going to actually look at the stitch that I did on the reverse side, and I'm just going to stitch right over that same seam line. Again, using your zipper foot, back stitching, now where the zipper was located, the actual zipper pull, I'm going to pull that out of the way, and I'm just going to go back over that little area just in case it got a little bit out of alignment. Really easy to do, going over the original seam. Perfect. Cut away any loose threads, and there we have one side of the exterior bag done, and there's the zipper, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. But before doing that, I am going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a press. I'm also going to stitch down my label because I don't know, I could actually leave the label free flowing. Essentially, I've placed the label here, and I'm just giving some thought. I'm thinking out loud whether or not I want to stitch it down, do a top stitch, or leave it. But before doing that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a press and start there. I gave it a good press, and I am very happy with the way that it looks. My dog just kind of came right on in the room, but that's totally cool. So you might actually see him over here in the corner. Of course, he came in and laughed. Anywho, I gave my label a little bit of a press, and I feel like I don't really need to do a top stitch, so I won't bother with that. Looks good on the other side as well. I really do love the way that the zigzag stitch holding down the foam on the inside, how that creates such a nice smooth panel. So we're going to take now the other panel of the exterior, and you're going to place it on top of the zipper tape that we have not sewn on yet. So you're going to place it there, and you're going to line up the raw edges and go ahead and clip that down. Now you could, if you like, you could go ahead and sew this down or baste it down. So I'm lining up the raw edge of the exterior panel to the zipper tape. So you could baste that down, but what I'm going to do is sandwich that in, and I'm going to take the exterior, the interior panel that I've not begun to work with, so the remaining panel essentially, and I'm going to place it right sides facing on the other side. So I'm going to walk you through that. So you have your remaining exterior panel, you're going to place that right sides facing, so facing down, clip it along the raw edge of your zipper tape. Clip that again. And then you can flip it over, and right sides facing, you're going to take the remaining interior panel, which is going to have the foam on it. And you want to make sure that you're lining up all of the raw edges. Again, sandwiching in the first two panels that you sewed together, and you're sewing these and lining them up along the zipper tape, the exposed zipper tape, the side that we have not yet worked on. So shifting this piece to get it lined up nicely with the raw edges. I'm using clips. If you prefer to use pins, please use whatever works for you. That's what it's going to look like. Everything kind of all sandwiched in. And I'm now going to go back. It doesn't really matter which side you work on. Again, using about a 1/4 inch, I am going to put a little pin here. using about 1/4 inch of a seam allowance and your zipper foot. We're going to go ahead and just sew all the way down. Uh-oh, something got stuck here. So I think something got stuck there. This is one of the things that I truly love about the Pfaff. If something gets stuck at any point, instead of your machine overheating, which could lead to some major damage to the machine actually will pause and just said it needs to rest. So I'm going to, since it's a little bit finicky on that side, I think I'm going to start midway of the seam and go from there. All right, let's see how this works. Okay, perfect. And I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to move the zipper stop out of the way so when I do the other side, I don't have that little bump where the zipper stop is. And I'm going to start where I left off midway. Make sure I give myself a few extra stitches so it really locks it in, and finish the other half. Cut away those loose threads. Let's open it up so you get a sense of what that looks like. Okay. We close the zipper. So these are the exterior panels. So you can see we've begun to make the exterior of the bag. And I took time as I was laying out my pattern because I knew that the pattern on this particular fabric was directional, and we have the continent of Africa. I wanted to make sure that it was laid out properly. So I did that for both sides. You don't have to do that if your fabric isn't directional. This is the interior of the bag. And again, you can see how I took the time to make sure that the directional print of the African continent was placed properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this over to my iron, and I'm going to go ahead and press this open. I am also going to do a little bit of a top stitch on both of these, but I'm going to first take it over and press it open, press it flat. This is looking really good. I've given it now a really good press. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I am going to do a top stitch, but as I mentioned before, I was debating whether or not I wanted to top stitch over my label, and I think I'm going to leave the label as it is. I'm going to lift it up and top stitch underneath. Because the interior of my bag is black, the exterior is kind of a taupe-ish color. I used a lighter color that would match the exterior fabric on the top of my machine, and then I used a black thread in the bobbin area. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top stitch. Now you can use a regular presser foot or a zipper foot for this. I'm gonna go ahead with the zipper foot for this. You don't really have to use the zipper foot, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it. I think it'll be fine. Just aligning it the way that I would like it. Okay, perfect. And on the top stitch, you really can extend the length of your stitch. Right now, the stitch is 2.5 for me on my sewing machine, but you can extend the length of the stitch to like 3 or even 3.5. Being careful as I go around that zipper pull. Definitely don't want to get that zipper pull caught at all in my presser foot or around my needle. Keeping everything nice and flat. So one side of the top stitching is done. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it around and do the other side of the top stitching. Make sure it's not stuck there. All right, something is getting stuck. Don't want to shove it, so I'm going to take a little bit of a look. And if I need to, I'll start midway down and then make my way back to finish up this little edge. Sometimes things get stuck at the very end, especially if you're dealing, at the very beginning, if you're dealing with bulky materials. So let's see how things go from here. I'm lifting up my label. I want to keep that out of the way. And if I decide later that I wanted to top stitch it, that's a very easy adjustment to make. Before moving on, I am going to go back to this beginning and see what's going on, and once again do the top stitch here. I'm going to walk it a little bit because I'm not really sure what is getting caught in there. All right, we're good. All right, perfect. Top stitching is all done. Getting rid of any loose threads so that they don't get caught in the zipper. Just cleaning it up really nicely. Okay. The next thing is you have a piece, which is the tab, and I just created a little pattern piece for it. The instructions don't have an actual pattern piece. It has the measurements for it, which, if I remember correctly, it's 3 inches by 2.5. So I just put it on some pattern paper. What you do with the tab, once you've cut it out, is you then fold it both sides. You first fold it halfway in this way, and then you begin to fold, you fold it halfway this way, the length. And then you fold each end in, and then you fold it down, creating basically what will be the zipper guard right here, the zipper stop, I guess you call it. And what you want to do down here is you want to line it up nicely. I'm going to use clips. Line it up nicely with the end of your bag on this end. So really lining up raw edges. Lining up raw edges. I'm looking to see where my zipper actually stops, and I am actually going to sew this down right about where the raw edges are. Oh, let me change my presser foot. I forgot. I want to remove the zipper foot. Let's put on our regular presser foot. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch the zipper tab down, changing the stitch length back to 2.5. I'm going to look at that. I think it looks pretty good, pretty close. I'm going to go in and do one little stitch that takes me a tiny bit closer, making sure that I totally avoid the metal portion of the zipper. But I want a nice, really nice little clean finish there. Keeping my fingers so I can feel that zipper. When I get close to the zipper, to make sure I'm not hitting the metal, I decide to slow down and actually walk my machine over, just using the hand wheel. That way I make sure that I don't make a mistake and end up breaking a needle because I hit the metal zipper. Go ahead and backstitch there. I really like the way that is turning out. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of the extra pieces of thread here. You're going to now put your panel off to the side momentarily. Actually, before I do that, there's another step that I'm going to do before I move on to the gusset. we are going to go ahead, which makes it easier to put the gusset on, is clip around the panel pieces, lining them up, and just go ahead and clip all the way around because we are going to baste them together, which will make it much easier when it is time to actually attach the gusset. So quick little baste all the way. Quick little clip. Do that on the other side. Lost the clip. So when you're basting, you want to lengthen your stitch. And so I'm going away from 2.5. I'm going to go now to 5, which is the longest stitch length on my sewing machine, which I think is on all sewing machines. And staying close to the raw edge, starting at the zipper tape and just making sure that I'm basting all of the edges all the way around. Great. Now we can truly set the panels. This is the exterior and interior of the bag, and I think it looks really good. Zipper looks great. Top stitching looks great. We are good to go there. The next thing that you do want to do is you want to grab the exterior of your gusset. I'm going to set this on my table for now. And then you want to grab the handle. So the handle is 6.5 by 3 inches, and you only cut 1, and you put fusible interfacing. I use SF101 on the inside of this. I just created a pattern piece basically for it. It's easy because I'm going to be doing more of these. You want to make sure that you transfer over your markings where the handle goes. You want to transfer those over. I actually transferred mine to the inside. So before doing that, the way that you get the handle ready is the handle is going to look like this when you first cut it. 6.5 inches by 3 inches wide, 6.5 inches long. You're going to fold the handle in half, and then you're going to fold the exterior sides in once again toward the center. So basically it's kind of like a bias tape, but it's not cut on a bias. So it looks like that. So pressed in and then pressed in again. Take it to your sewing machine, and you're just going to stitch down the open side where you have the folded edges. Because I want a little bit more of a uniform look, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, even though it isn't really necessary. And that's just honestly for balance. All right, so I'm going to take the handle, going to line the handle up along the raw edges, pretty much between where those markings are on the end of your fabric. The handle will not lay flat, and it should not, because it will actually be a handle and will look like this when we are all done sewing. So it should look like that. You take it to your sewing machine, and you can either stitch or really baste the handle down, making sure that it's still in the areas marked on the pattern. And do that on the other side. Take care of any extra threads that you may have at this particular point. Let me just take a quick look at the instructions. I'm doing this basically by memory. We're now going to take the exterior gusset. So we have, this is the exterior gusset, and this is the interior gusset. So the interior gusset is the one that has that foam. And remember, I said to use a zigzag stitch to hold the foam in all the way around. That really does compress the foam and will make it a lot easier when it comes time for us to actually attach the gusset to the exterior panels. And what we need to do at this particular point is you want to place both gussets face down, and then once you place the gussets wrong sides together. So that's the interior, the exterior gusset. You want those wrong sides together, and then you are going to go ahead and clip those two all the way around. After you clip all the way around the gusset pieces, we are going to baste those two gusset pieces together. That makes it a lot easier when it's time to actually sew the gusset onto the main panel pieces. If you don't do this step, it's a lot to work with when you're on the inside of that bag, and it's really easy for them to slip and slide. So definitely make sure that you take the time to do the basting. Okay, take it to the sewing machine. Go ahead, it doesn't really matter where you start. You're just going to baste the two gusset pieces, wrong sides facing all the way around. I'm going to need to pick up a lot of clips off the floor. Now that you have basted all the way around your gusset, bringing the wrong sides together, and you have the gusset pieces, the exterior as well as the lining pieces basted together, what you want to do is just fold your gusset in half and mark the middle of that area. So you want to mark the middle of the long edge of the gusset. I just use the clip. You're going to do the exact same thing on the short end. Just fold it and kind of mark it. You can just see it. It's just a subtle little mark right there. And this, I used a heat erasable wax, so tailless chalk, which when I hit this with the iron, that mark will go away. You want to hit that middle part here. And then on your main panel pieces, you want to also do the same thing. So fold the main panel pieces in half. You can mark it. I actually put a clip there. And this is not quite the middle. Let me move that over. Do the same thing on the other to mark the middle, not quite the center. Let me move it over. Good, perfect. You do want to make sure that you open your zipper, because once you sew your gusset closed, if your zipper isn't open, you're not going to be able to actually turn the bag inside out. So you want your gusset right side facing. Uh-oh, it sounds like the dogs have seen a delivery guy. They'll stop in just a minute. I am so sorry about that. So you want right sides facing of the gusset and your panel pieces. And you're just going to place that there using a clip or using a pin. I'm definitely using clips on this because with all of the gyrations that we're going to have to do to sew these on, I've done this before, and the pins don't end well for me. So you're actually going to just start it here on this end, then take the other gusset piece and you're going to clip it or pin it to the other side where the zipper is located. And remember, the zipper is actually separated at this point. So if you wanted to first zip it up, you certainly can zip it up, clip it first. You might even want to pin these. And I'm making sure that I have it good. You may even want to pin these because this does get to be a little tricky here. All right, now make sure that you remember to unzip that gusset or you will totally sew your bag closed and you won't be able to get into it. So we want to now go ahead where we, on the long end of the gusset, and you put those clips midway through, and on the main panel pieces, we put that clip midway through. You're gonna go ahead and remove one clip, I am in this case, and clip to that end, and then over on this side, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Even without sewing, you see with this is the inside of the bag, you can already see that the bag is starting to take shape. So once you've pinned together those critical pieces, you then go ahead and just continue to clip all the way around. And you're going to do this on both sides of your panel pieces. So at this point, you should be looking at the interior of your bag, because right sides are going to be sewn together. Believe it or not, we are really almost done with this bag. I sewed it live on TikTok a little while ago, not too long ago. And I was on with some other folks, and we had a challenge where you have 1 hour to do anything with a yard of Ankara fabric. Well, I didn't even use a half yard to make this when I did it live on TikTok. And, you know, I was concerned because it was the first time I had done the bag, and I said, and I'm not really someone that does bags, you know, and I know this is not a complex bag by any stretch, but I'm more of a garment person. So, you know, you ask me to make leather pants or fur coat or something like that, you know, that's a completely different vibe. But for me to do a bag and to do it with a clock running to get it done in 1 hour, literally, I just finished doing the binding on the inside of the bag when the clock went off. And so it really will only take you 1 hour. Now, of course, I'm here talking and chatting with you, but when you do it on your own, you'll find that it really does only take about 1 hour to pull this together. Truly great gifts for other people. It's also, I'm going to use it. We're going on a trip. So I made one for myself. This one, my husband actually loves this. I think he's going to take it. And then I decided to make another one for myself. The only change that I would make in the actual materials that I'm using, I used Ankara on the inside and the outside. If I had on hand waterproof vinyl, I would put that on the inside, because if you're putting toiletries in here, it's nice to have something that's waterproof. But I didn't have any of that on hand. And the only place where I know to buy waterproof vinyl, there may be other places, but I know Walmart sells it, but I think you have to order it. So, you know, I didn't want that to stop me. So I will make this again because I like it, but I will use some waterproof vinyl. All right, so I have clipped all the way around the bag. And I am now going to, I'm going to use light colored thread because the exterior of the bag is light colored. So I want to go ahead and use light colored thread in the bobbin. I am not going to worry about changing out the thread at the top. I could, but I'll go ahead and do it. I have it, so I'm just going to go ahead and change it. I'm going to change the color of the thread to black, because I'm going to need that anyway when I do the binding. So let me just go ahead and change it out now. So I have black thread up top, and I have in the bobbin light thread. All right. Cut that other little piece off there. Okay. All right, so I've threaded. So I have black in the top, and I have light color thread on the bottom because the exterior is a light color. I recommend, now you can certainly start at one of the ends where the zipper is located. I recommend as you start to get your feet wet, because this is a difficult part of the process. I'm going to also move my extended arm out of the way. See if that works. It may not help me at all. And fortunately, this is foam and I can compress it. So take out the clips only when I get close to it. Drop my needle in. Whoops. I'm going to actually move my needle placement over so I don't have to worry about having my presser foot on too much, because this is a lot of bulk. All right, let's put that down. Good, perfect. And so you just use a regular stitch and go all the way around the bag. Take your time, kind of maneuver it. You will use some muscle work here to go all the way around. Don't move the clips until you get there. And again, as you get in here, you just kind of keep shifting the bag. You can see what I'm kind of doing to get in there. It does take a little bit of work. It's doable. Making sure that you keep the raw edges together. And I'm just making the adjustments to make sure that my raw edges are indeed together. This is when the focus really comes in, I'm telling you. I have a lot of respect for people who make a lot of bags. It is a lot of work. Well, I mean, for someone that does mostly garments, I feel like it's a lot of work to make that shift. So I'm going to shift the bag a little bit, trying to be careful with my machine. As I make my way around to one end of the zipper, this is actually where the zipper tape is located. Shift, press, hold. Okay. Slowing down around that zipper, y'all. There she is. Shift that bag. clip came out. Let me take a moment and make sure the clip is where it needs to be. There we go. All right. All right, I'm going to continue to go all the way around. Do the same, take your time. The gusset is now completely sewn to the main panels. I had to take it off a couple times, shift it around. I opened it up to make sure that it all looked really good. So let's do that very quickly. I'm going to now open up the bag, right sides facing. I mean, not right sides facing, right sides out. And yes, it is looking really good. You can come back and clean up any loose threads, but there is the bag, guys. It is 90% completely constructed, and she looks beautiful. Completely beautiful, such an easy sew. That last part, you do have to muscle it a little bit until you feel completely comfortable with it. There's only one last piece. Let me grab my binding. There's only one last step to this particular bag, and then we are all done. So the last thing that you do is you cut 24-inch long strip on the bias. So that's diagonal to the selvage. You need to cut 2 of those, cut 2 lining on the bias, and there are cutting instructions, and hopefully this is long enough. I've actually done this before where it wasn't long enough, and if it isn't, I just head back over to my cutting table and add a little bit more. So I've cut it on the bias, which gives it a little bit of stretch, which is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need that flexibility. And so you see so the outside looked beautiful. On the inside, not as beautiful because you see all of the raw edges, and I'm using a cotton, so cotton frays a little bit, so you see some of that going on here. I'm gonna go in and make my way all the way around the bag. Off camera, I'm not gonna do that and bore you guys with that, but what I am going to do is, this is the point that we cover up all that ugliness on the inside. The way that you do that is this long strip that you've actually cut. And the long strip, what you do is you cut it, you actually are going to make bias tape. So you fold it first in half, you press it, and then you open it back up and you fold the raw edges in toward the center. Looks like that. And then you fold it again and you hit it again with the iron. What you do at this point is you're just going to literally lay that bias tape over the raw seam, and you will clip it. Clip it, pin it, whatever you like. I like to start on one of the flat areas, the straight edges, because it's a lot easier there. And then you definitely want to make sure that you're clipping well around the corners here. And you're going to do that all the way around the bag with that continuous bias strip that you just made. And when you do that, you're going to take it to the sewing machine now, and you're going to stitch that down close to where the fold is located, and that encases all of the raw edges. Once you encase all of the raw edges, you're done. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to start at the very end of my bias tape. And I'll show you when you get to the very end how you cover up that raw edge of the bias. Because it's going to be clean inside and outside. Oh, let me make sure the bias is black. Glad I remembered. So I want to make sure that I'm using black thread. Black thread on my spool up top, and then black thread in the bobbin. All right, gonna need a little bit of muscle here as you maneuver to get in there. All right, once I get where I want, I'm going to drop my needle, and I'm just going to start sewing close to that folded edge. If I see any loose threads along the way, I am going to stop and get them. I know I must have a bunch. With this fabric, because it is cotton, what I really could have done is I could have used pinking shears when I cut it out, or I could have taken the time to serge the fabric beforehand. I really didn't think that it would fray this much, but covering it and encasing those raw edges with the bias is going to totally take care of that. So we're going to go ahead, stitching again very close to that folded edge on your bias tape all the way around. So how'd you do with the binding? I was able to finish up all the binding. It is a little bit of muscle work, but you can do it. I also took the time off camera to go through and clip all of the loose threads. Boy, did I have a lot of loose threads. I actually still see a couple here and there. But it looks really good. I like it. And the only thing that I did on the little area where the binding begins and ends is I just simply folded under the binding and then sewed over the binding, and that created a very clean edge on the end of the binding as well. So that is the inside of your bag, and she looks actually really good. So let's go ahead and, oops, I see another loose thread. Not really loose, but a hanging thread. Okay. We're going to go ahead and slowly take our time turning the bag right side out. Yes, I like this a lot. Go ahead and press into the little corners along the gusset area. All the way. Found another little piece right here by the zipper. That's a really tiny piece. So there she is, guys. I love the tag. I'm glad I didn't top stitch it. The zipper tab came out perfectly placed. It's very close. It's very clean in there. You hold on to the zipper tab as you close the bag up. You have a handle, which makes it really super easy for you to be able to carry your bag around. And then when you open it up, you have a big old surprise inside with a really beautiful, completely lined bag. It's kind of hard to see because the bag is dark on the inside, so I'm trying to angle it so you can see. And it's picking up some of the colors from the black background of the fabric with the continents of Africa. Gorgeous. I love the way that it turned out. This is perfect as a toiletry bag. It is perfect to help you organize your space, whether you're traveling and you want to put makeup in the bag. I mean, it's easy. It's cotton. You just pop it in the washing machine when you're back from wherever you might be. This is the first one that I made. This is the second one that I made, and I think they both came out super nice. I love them both. I wish I'd put a tag here, but I didn't think about it as I was making it. But they came out nicely. Easily, I think that you could hack this pattern and make it even bigger, a different size. I would say that this pattern, it is a free pattern, so that's the good news. It doesn't take much fabric, so that's also very good news. I would say that the level of sewing that's needed for this pattern, I would say probably maybe beginner advanced, but I would maybe say even kind of a confident beginner or intermediate. And the reason why is the binding on the inside certainly takes a little bit of know-how and confidence, and installing the zipper. That part was actually pretty easy. So I think you could do this as a beginner. Just take your time. It took me less than an hour to do each of these bags, but take your time, spread it out over a couple different days. So that is it for me today, guys. I am Byrd, and I am your curvy sewist, and this is today's bag. Let me grab the pattern instructions again so I can tell you the name of the pattern so you can find it. It is called Sincerely Jen Pattern Company, and the bag is the Banana Hammock Beauty Bag, and this is a free pattern. So go ahead and look for it online. I am going to drop the link below so you don't have to search. It's going to be in the description below. I can't wait to see your makes. If you're on Instagram, go ahead and tag me. I would be happy to share your makes. I appreciate you guys so much. Happy sewing.